Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your weekly Bitcoin update for the week of Monday, April 20th, 2026. I'll start with this big picture. It's really the same chart throughout, a weekly bar chart, but the big picture shows, how back in July of 25 and October of 25, we topped out at that full wave count, A minus B, 21 high, minus 22 low. Add that back to the 22 high, and you have that sort of equilibrium is reached with the full swing. Following the testing of 122.433, we collapsed back below the 88,022 5-year channel top. At the same time, the very same week, we closed below, I think, an even more significant trend-defining support level that is presently now at 91,957. And that set up a target that is really yet to be reached in the low 60s, 60,833. And in fact, last week's settlement, so before I leave this chart, 60,833 is a base of ultra long-term support. It goes back some 8-9 years, follows the trend line across these highs against this intermediate low. It is the level that can contain selling through the rest of the year and possibly the rest of the decade. And if we were to close below 60,833 at the end of any week, that spells, I think, a diminished luster, if you will, for Bitcoin as a speculative entity. Until then, we are merely in a pullback low that could play out for years to come. The low 90s in reach again over the next 3 to 5 months, and even back into the low 120s again. By the end of this year, I don't expect that, but who knows? The sell-off was the October to February. This was 4 months. So yeah, there's 8 months left in the year. And so, yeah, that is certainly possible. But let's kind of zoom into the near term here right now. Before I actually talk about leaving that chart, I do want to mention we've got a rising 2/3 speed line also. So if we were to close below 59,397 over the next few months, then that is our downward pivot point through the rest of the year. By the end of the year, we could conceivably fall into the mid to upper 10s, 15 to 19,000. I don't think that is unrealistic if we were to close below the upper 50,000, low 60,000 region. Until then, this is your aggressive buy zone, not only on a weekly, monthly, but even quarterly and annual basis. Upside, it looks like we may push back into the low 90s here over the next 2 to 3 months. And that following the settlement back above these horizontal structures, this low here back in April of 25, this high back in March of 24, 73,791 to 74,412. We closed above that last week. It is a base of support now this week, can contain selling for the week itself and even through the month of May, and above which over the next couple of months, we can push back into the low 90s. I do want to mention that if you're not long Bitcoin now, you didn't go long based on this near-term buy signal I've been mentioning now for the last couple of months, that you may wait for the settlement above this rising channel top. This is a newly formed structure that is based on the low from late March. I wasn't expecting it to contain weekly highs, but it did last week. And so if you're not long Bitcoin yet, and you're looking to go long, at this stage, you may wait now for a settlement above 78,988. And then we have a clear shot within a couple of months, 5 to 8 week rally to 91,957 and climbing. This structure can contain quarterly buying pressures. We can fall away from here. Certainly, if we were to close above the low 90s or this structure in the next few months, then it would be the low 120s I would expect within another 2 to 3 months. But right now, near term, I'm going to call this a stable to bullish market above 74,412 with 91,957 in reach over the next 2 to 3 months. And if we can close this week above 78,988, make that within 1 to 2 months, the low 90,000 region. Closing back below 73,791 this week would signal a return, or at least the possibility thereof, of this upper 50,000, low 6,000, 60,000 area where we could bottom out, as I say, through the rest of the year and perhaps even the rest of the decade. We do remain in a long-term bull market above 60,833. And that is all I've got for this week's Bitcoin analysis. You have a great week.